Part of the reason why Donald Trump is the president, because in states like Florida, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, we got elected back in 2010. We got reelected in 2014. We laid the groundwork so then those states are Republican, not just Donald Trump, but a Republican could win the election in 2016. And I hope our friends here in Washington will take a page from our states and do the things we said we were going to do. Go big, go bold, get things done, and people rewarded us, which I think they'll do for the House, the Senate, and eventually the president.
I like that angle, Governor. So it wasn't that it was Trump providing the tailwind. You guys did the heavy lifting in 2010. What happened in 2012 then? What happened in 2012 when you had the perfect candidate in Mitt Romney and he couldn't beat Barack Obama? You didn't help him.
Well, in 12, part of it was one of the biggest issues, Obamacare. People were frustrated with that. Mitt Romney's a great man, good person, would have been an excellent president, but was not the great contrast because obviously in Massachusetts had something very similar to that. But you look across the nation, in the 8 years that Barack Obama was president of the United States, there are more than 1,000 new Republican lawmakers since then. Democrats, at that point when he was sworn in, had 28 governors. Today we have 33 Republican governors. It's not only because people were upset in 2010, but in states all across America, we delivered it. In our case in Wisconsin, not only did I win 3 elections, including that historic recall, but our state legislative majorities have grown 3 times in a row, 12, 14, and again now in 16, similar to what you see in states all across this country. And voters, many of whom in the Midwest in particular are kind of independent, they can vote either party, have seen that Republicans actually deliver on their promises.
Governor, you were sort of Trump before Trump in terms of beating the unions, beating the establishment, beating the media, beating everybody else, overcoming the recount. I mean, you do obviously deserve a lot of credit for that. Let me ask you, how are the Republicans, if you had to say Murphy's Law, and, you know, if there's going to be some way to screw this up, even with all, you know, with all this stuff moving, because there's plenty of ways. It could be Obamacare, because now you got Boehner saying it's not going to be repealed, and, you know, you got all these people at the town hall meetings and everything. You've got how are you going to do tax reform? I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls, potential pitfalls in the path here, and we know Congress is useless most of the time. So what worries you?
The biggest thing I would say is what I said 6 years ago after we went from all Democrat to all Republican control in our state. I said it's put up or shut up time, meaning the voters wanted a change. They spoke loud and clear. And if we just nibbled around the edges, I told the new Republican majorities that time in our state legislature, they'd be right to throw us out 2 years later. Well, obviously we didn't nibble. We went big. We went bold, not just on collective bargaining and budgeting reform, but on a whole bunch of other things, welfare, education, you name it. And voters responded, not just in the recall, but again, 2 years after that in the re-election. They added more seats in the state legislature. I think the message is, and it's real easy, particularly in a town like Washington, D.C., to get caught up in the noise and the images of protesters, to get caught up in the punditry out there. The reality is that people outside of this city, and I call it Washington, D.C., 68 square miles surrounded by reality, there are real people across America who want Republicans to do the things they said during the campaign, who aren't at protests, who aren't showing up at town hall meetings. I saw that when I had 150,000 people occupy my state capitol. Remember, the Occupy movement didn't start on Wall Street. It started on my street in Madison, Wisconsin. But what not only Republicans want, but I think independents and, even say some discerning Democrats want, are people to do the things they said they were going to do. They have to repeal Obamacare. Instead of focus on repeal, now they need to focus on replace and reform. How do you reform the system? And they have to pass comprehensive tax reform. The best thing of which they can do is lower the corporate tax rate so that we can compete with the rest of the world and bring more jobs back to America. They do those 2 big things, rein in regulations on top of that. We're going to have a thriving economy, which will, more important than helping us in the 2018 midterm elections, it'll help this country.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.